The dense fog crept in like a thief, shrouding the small town of Ravenswood in an impenetrable veil. Captain Jameson, a seasoned soldier, navigated the winding roads with a mix of frustration and unease. He had been driving for hours, but the GPS had stopped working miles ago, leaving him disoriented and lost. The last thing he needed was to get stuck in this godforsaken town, where the only signs of life seemed to be the flickering streetlights and the occasional barking dog. As he turned a corner, the headlights of his truck illuminated a small diner, its neon sign reading, "Maze," in bold letters. Jameson pulled over, hoping to find some directions or at least a decent cup of coffee. Inside, the diner was warm and cozy, filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and baking pie. A young waitress, with piercing green eyes and curly brown hair, greeted him with a warm smile. "Welcome to Maze, Hon. What can I get for you?" Jameson ordered a coffee and asked for directions, but the waitress seemed hesitant, glancing around the diner as if she feared being overheard. Just as Jameson was about to leave, a gruff old man, with a thick beard and a scowl, stormed into the diner. "You're the one asking questions, ain't ya?" he growled, his eyes narrowing at Jameson. The waitress quickly intervened, ushering the old man out of the diner, but not before he whispered something in her ear. Jameson's instincts kicked in, and he sensed that something was off in this town. The waitress returned, her smile now forced, and handed him a map with cryptic directions. "Be careful, Captain," she whispered, before hurrying away. Jameson followed the directions, which led him deeper into the woods. The fog grew thicker, making it impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. Suddenly, his truck sputtered and died. He was stranded. As he stepped out into the darkness, he heard the sound of rushing water and the creaking of old wooden beams. A dam, hidden behind the fog, was on the verge of collapse. Jameson knew he had to act fast, but as he approached the dam, he realized that he was not alone. A figure, shrouded in shadows, was frantically trying to repair the dam. Jameson drew his gun, ready for a fight, but as the figure turned, he saw the waitress from the diner, her eyes wild with fear. "Please, you have to help me," she begged, as the dam creaked and groaned. Together, they fought to hold back the water, but it was a losing battle. The dam was going to burst, and they would be swept away. In the chaos, Jameson found himself clinging to the waitress, his gun lost in the water. As they struggled to stay afloat, he realized that he had misjudged her, and the town, entirely. The waitress, whose name was Emily, was not just a pretty face. She was a fierce and determined woman, fighting to save her town from a disaster that had been looming for years. The old man, who had stormed into the diner, was her father, a former engineer who had designed the dam, but had been silenced by the town's corrupt leaders. As the water receded, Jameson and Emily found themselves on the riverbank, gasping for air. The fog had lifted, revealing a town that was not as deserted as it seemed. People were emerging from their homes, blinking in the bright sunlight. Jameson realized that he had been wrong about Ravenswood all along. It was not a town of dark secrets, but a community bound together by a shared struggle. And Emily, the waitress, was the heart of it all. As they walked back to the diner, hand in hand, Jameson knew that he had found something more valuable than just a way out of town. He had found a connection, a sense of belonging, and a reason to stay. The disaster had been averted. But for Jameson, the real miracle was the love that had blossomed in the midst of chaos.